Good afternoon. This is Stephen Puleo, Vice President of R&D for Koster Keunen. Today, we'll be discussing the role of waxes in clean beauty. Today, we'll give you a little overview on who Koster Keunen is, what clean beauty is to us and to many people. We'll go over a little bit about a few of our products, little chemistry and how it functions in applications. And then we'll also be relating this to the application in formulations. Today, Koster Keunen has a global footprint. I'm coming to you from our facility in Watertown, Connecticut, where we have manufacturing, research, quality, as well as regulatory here. We have duplicate processes in the Netherlands. These processes allows us to be one of the only natural wax companies that has a DRP program. About 3 years ago, we put a facility in Togo, West Africa, for the strict and availability and production of sustainable beeswax from West Africa. We have a very strong commitment that is run and overseen by John Koster himself. This commitment for sustainable sourced beeswax has brought a tremendous amount of approval to the local areas in West Africa where these waxes come from. Koster Keunen, with the help of some other companies, have also put in over 10,000 hives. We have increased the sustainable beeswax availability. We have increased food production in the area and have also increased the positive effects towards the local people enormously. Today, clean beauty is a living, breathing document. We have the list of no's which constantly grow. One of the most important aspects to clean beauty that I've been preaching about for years is formulation simplification. This is required as regulatory increases. We need to have better transparency of what is being put on our bodies. We have many companies have this issue where there's a laundry list of raw materials in their product, and today that is really unacceptable. It does not only affect the consumer, but it affects the companies which have to purchase and warehouse and compound products that have enormous ingredient listings. Formulation simplification allows also for a more sustainable future. We need to understand before we go into some of our raw materials what we mean and what our company presents as definitions for our raw materials. Our waxes and lipids really fall into a few categories of functionality. Structuring compounds are such that they only increase viscosity and will make products thicker. Plasticizers only make products creamier. They are used like an oil, and they do not build viscosity like a structurant. And then texturizers. Texturizers improve sensorial feel. And they also are used like an oil because they will not build structure. The combination of raw materials which structure, plasticize, and texturize will allow you to create a finished product of whatever consistency you're looking for, just by balancing out structurants to plasticizers You can get thicker or thinner products, greater payoff, greater slip. So by understanding what your raw material will do, it's easy to make a product that has the consistency that you're looking for. Lipids and waxes have been used for a long, long time. They're safe raw materials, and they facilitate barrier properties. They will increase hydration. They are breathable films. This is why the food industry uses them on vegetables and fruits. And they also act as a sacrificial barrier that helps toxins not to go directly into your body. They will sit on the surface and can be easily washed off. All these, there's a lot of documentation and references to these roles of lipids and waxes. Some of these waxes and lipids from a structural point of view and plasticizing point of view can be illustrated in these cartoons and SEM microscope diagrams. What is going on a more of a molecular level? If you look at an organogel, the structuring properties of a product that is very strong allows for a uniform gel lattice network to form. That means you get good packing density of your structurants, meaning you don't need a lot to create a hard product or a product of high viscosity. When you have a strong structurant, you don't need as much to get to a, let's call it a standard consistency. And then if you look at C, the domains where the oil resides is larger because there's more oil than there is structuring lipids and wax. If you look at SEM diagram A, you see that there's very small domains where the oils reside. Well, that's because the wax in that system has plasticizers added to it, increasing the solid content, diminishing the size of the domains, but yet A and C both have the same consistency. A will have a much higher thermal stability because you can get more wax and lipid into the system than C does. But yet, again, you still have the same consistency. So the way of controlling your consistency also can influence the stability of your product. Emulsions also have these similar effects, and more so with domain formation because of coalescence. Coalescence occurs during the cooling process. When most people make, and most companies make emulsions, they're typically at larger batch sizes. So when you heat up a water and oil phase and then have to cool it down to a level at which you may stop your mixing or fill, what happens is that takes a lot of time. If you have large disparities within the solidification points of your components within an emulsion, the particles themselves, higher solidifying point products will set up first, allowing for lower solidifying products to coalesce and form domains. If you have wide disparities, you get these domain formations. The domain formations can actually be felt or seen. A great example is the use of butters in your emulsions and the formation of little gritty crystals. Well, when you introduce plasticizers into and the right structurants into your emulsions, they actually interfere with the coalescent process because they set up and they reduce the likelihood of coalescence occurring and domain forming. When you can diminish the domain formation, but yet still have attributes that you're looking for within your emulsion, like a non-waxy feel, nice sensorial properties, good slip, nice barrier and film forming properties. All of this can be obtained even in emulsions when using waxes and lipids. It's just understanding how they work. So we're going to only discuss 3 of our products: sunflower wax, K60P, and K24. Sunflower wax is an all-natural monoester that is produced through the winterization and then batch chromatography processing of the winterization byproduct. This creates a very pure, more monomolecular distribution of esters. The ester content of our sunflower wax is in the 95+% purity level of just monoesters. And since they are a very narrow distribution, this is why you have excellent gel lattice networking and packing density within your anhydrous systems. This is a very strong structurant. It has a melting point of 74 to 77 degrees C. Melting point does not dictate the structuring properties of a wax or lipid. The molecular weight distribution and purity level of the functionality within these waxes and lipids is really what dictates structuring properties. And it also has a natural index of 1. So what do we mean by structuring? Well, structuring is the amount of wax needed to get to a certain consistency. The x-axis is the percent wax within the system, and the y-axis is the structure or the consistency of the product. The number 60 corresponds to a cone penetration of about the consistency of an average lip balm. So this way you have a mental gauge of what that 60 means. So as you can see, anywhere from 4 to 6% will give you a very strong structure within a variety of oils. And we've picked these oils just to give you an example of many functionalities. So now you're looking at the physicochemical compatibility of waxes and oils. So triglycerides, hydroxytriglycerides, monoesters, diesters, low molecular weight triglycerides, hydrocarbons, and even alcohols. So it gives you a good indication that through a wide variety of functionality, you're going to get good structuring properties from sunflower wax. So the use of sunflower wax is for predominantly creating hardness in anhydrous system. It'll also increase the melt point. So these can be used to replace polyethylene within many anhydrous systems. So if you're looking to go green, you will be able to use sunflower wax as your primary structurant. And usage levels, as you saw in that previous graph, is not high. Now in emulsions, the viscosity in an emulsion even is not necessarily dictated by the melt point of the wax. We have seen through formulations that sunflower wax at usage levels of anywhere to 3 to 5% producing beautiful emollient and film forming properties that is non-occlusive, non-comedogenic, gives you low viscosity emulsions. And that has to do with these monomolecular esters crystallizing out in a lamella layer at a higher temperature, producing smaller emulsion particle size, or helping to produce smaller emulsion particle size. That's still tremendously influenced over the emulsifiers that you would be using in your emulsion. But having high molecular weight, higher melting point materials in there will not necessarily give you thick emulsions. They give you excellent film forming. It's a hard wax. So you're going to get a soft, nice, clean, dry feel from these products. And in many cases, that's kind of counterintuitive for what people might think as they saw in an anhydrous system, creating that tremendous thickness. So it is a little bit of an opposite approach. We're doing a lot of research in this right now and are working with a variety of esters based on molecular weight and looking at how they function in emulsions. That'll be coming in the near future. The next wax we'll discuss is K60P. It's a polyhydroxysteric acid. This is a high molecular weight branched ester. Because of that branching, it does not create a gel lattice network. It actually interferes with those gel lattice networks forming. Hence, it's a plasticizer. It's an emollient. It can even, in certain circumstances and usage levels, have a texturizing feel because it does add some nice slip to the product. Finished product, that is. And its melting point is relatively what I call a medium melt point product. It's in that 50 to 70 degree range, typically around 60 degrees, hence K60P standing for about the melt point of a product. So you use this like an oil because it only makes your products creamier. We have seen in the past where formulators will take out a wax or a lipid that they were using and replace it with a plasticizer, and the product can fall apart, especially in anhydrous systems. That's why you actually remove an oil and replace the plasticizer, and you will maintain the same consistency as if you were using an oil. It will not thicken your product. As you can see here, at anywhere from 8 to 10 to 12% in these oils, it's perfectly soluble. It doesn't have any thickening properties. It doesn't even crystallize out. So you use it like an oil. And its application is just enormous. It's a wonderful, plasticizers are crystallization inhibitors. These inhibition of crystal formation allows you to produce products that are more amorphous, that improves the stability of a product. As you see here from these polarized light microscope images, you can take a simple gel, add a small amount of the plasticizer, and you can see how the number of objects, the size of the objects are reduced within the system that was just beeswax and sunflower oil without really any change to the penetration or the consistency of the product. The penetration on the beeswax sunflower oil without the K60P was 58. Incorporating 1% addition and taking out 1% sunflower oil produced a penetration of 59. Essentially, that's the same. And then, as you know, sometimes the use of shea butter in your emulsions as well as anhydrous systems produce little gritty crystals. And in this image, you see we were able to capture the crystal formation. This does take time because butters and many forms of triglycerides are polymorphic materials. They undergo spontaneous stereochemistry changes. So these take time to occur. But you put in 2% of a plasticizer and you see how the coalescent process was interfered with. There were no visible, and this was only at 100 magnification. So there were no visible signs of domain formation. And over time, the shea butter maintained a nice homogeneous process within the gel, allowing for a smooth system to be created. So in emulsions as well as anhydrous systems, they are excellent plasticizers. They improve the feel. They stop syneresis and sweating. So you have a whole host of beneficial properties. In our formulations, and we have many available, we use plasticizers in most formulations to improve, not just to improve the aesthetics, but the overall long-term stability of the product. K24 is a narrow distribution of monoesters. Its inky name is lauryl laurate. It's a very low melting point product. Actually, once you get above 28 to 30 degrees, it's an oil. This is strictly a texturizing agent and emollient. It produces lovely slip in all manner of formulation. It's, again, an all-natural product, an ISO natural index of 1, and you use it like an oil, not like a wax. As you can see here, at 15% usage level, it's perfectly soluble in a wide variety of different oils. It has absolutely no viscosity building properties whatsoever. It is strictly a slip aid, a texturizing agent. In emulsions as well as anhydrous systems, it gives you a dry, powdery feel. Depending on your usage level, you will get really great cooling effects. Anywhere from 2 to 6% usage level, it can give you the same feel of many silicones. So it's a silicone alternative. And we've just recently completed some side-by-side studies that we're doing at 6% usage level for a dimethicone 20. And really can't tell the difference. One, it will not reduce foaming. That is one thing the K24 will not do. But when it comes to creating the texture and feel and sensorial nature of a silicone, you will get similar effects with the K24. So you use it like an oil and you put it into your oil phase. You don't use it as a wax. And it's wonderful in compatibility. So the compatibility of this, where many silicones are added as a third phase, this goes right into your oil phase. So you even have more simplicity when it comes to your formulation and compounding. It's a nice product, and it's being used in everything from deodorants to creams and lotions and makeups and sunscreens. It'll cut the greasiness of many oils. that are used in conventional formulating. So in conclusion, we've only shown you 3 different natural products, but one that's a structurant, one which is a plasticizer, one which is a texturizing agent. By using these, it allows you to create whatever consistency product you want, at the same time as using less oils, producing less graininess in your product, improving barrier properties, improving thermal stability, improving the degree of payoff. So there's many, many advantages of working with combinations of structurants, plasticizers, and texturizers. This is a little bit different way of thinking than in the past, because most people have very historical ways of formulating. And in many companies, you don't have the luxury of time on your side. So you're taking stock formulas and adding materials to them to make marketing claims. So by using a very simple way of formulating that is easy to understand and easy to accomplish, you will be able in the long run to create whatever consistency product you're looking for. And lastly, if you have any questions and would like to see any of our formulation, we have a team here that's led by Belin Lemieux, that we have hundreds and hundreds of formulations which will allow you to perceptually understand and conceive this concept of structurize, plasticize, texturize very easily. All of our formulations are designed based on that formulation simplification. And thank you for your attention. And again, please feel free to contact us at any time.